Greetings, welcome to Facts About Everything. I'm your host, James Egan. Although I've already done a video about the Resident Evil game series, I have not talked about the movies, so let's have a look at them. The main character of the series is Alice. This is a reference to the story Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. In this story, Alice travels through the Looking Glass and meets the Red Queen, who wants to cut off someone's head. During the laser scene, the Red Queen chops off a soldier's head. Also, the T-virus is tested on a white rabbit, which is a reference to the White Rabbit in Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. And that is the first fact about the film series Resident Evil. Let's dive in. The film is based on a video game of the same name, which was released by Capcom in 1996 on the PlayStation. The president of Capcom cameos as a zombie. Alice's name is only revealed in the credits. Milla Jovovich plays Alice. Sarah Michelle Gellar was considered for the role. The film was directed by Paul W.S. Anderson. He started dating Milla Jovovich soon after and married her in 2009. This is the second video game adaptation that Paul W.S. Anderson directed. The first was Mortal Kombat. I've done a video about Mortal Kombat. I'll leave a link at the end of this video if you want to check that out. Milla Jovovich nearly quit the film as she was dissatisfied that the screenwriters kept changing the script. The zombies were mainly portrayed by dancers. The film inspired many other video game adaptations, including Max Payne, Doom, and Silent Hill. All of these films sucked. Actually, Silent Hill is not too bad. And the second one's got Kit Harington. He's quite fit. In Russia, the title translates into Unbeatable Evil. In Romania, the title translates into Fatal Experiment. The working title was Resident Evil Ground Zero. The title was changed after the 9/11 attacks. Astoundingly, this film has the largest opening weekend for a movie that was financed in Europe. One newspaper reads, The Dead Walk, which is the same newspaper headline in Day of the Dead. I've done a video about Day of the Dead as well as the other Night of the Living Dead movies. I'll leave a link at the end of this video if you want to check that out. Jason Isaacs cameos as a scientist. He wears a surgeon's mask, so it's almost impossible to tell it's him. The laser sequence was incorporated into the video game Resident Evil 4. It's pretty weird that the best part of this movie has nothing to do with zombies and it had nothing to do with the game at the time. Alice suffers from amnesia. This is a reference to the game Resident Evil Survivor, which revolves around an amnesiac.
Leave her alone! Lily, run, go! Lord!
If you haven't played that game, don't. The zombie dogs were covered in blood and meat. Their scenes were difficult to shoot because the dogs kept licking the meat off their bodies. The film concludes with Alice fighting a licker. The crew nicknamed the monster Clint. If you don't know why it's called Clint, you have to figure it out yourself. I'm not allowed to say in this video. Roger Ebert said this was one of the worst films he ever saw. The word zombie is never uttered. 88 people died throughout the film. While Jovovich promoted the film on the Graham Norton show, she told him that her brother didn't care when she was in The Fifth Element or when she played the titular character in the movie Joan of Arc. However, since he's a big fan of Resident Evil, he went nuts when he heard that his sister was cast in this film. No characters from the game appear in the movie. Jovovich performed all her own stunts apart from the pipe jump scene. You may be wondering, why are my glasses now darker than they were the last shot? I don't know. While filming, Jovovich accidentally hit 3 actors and crew members, including the director. And she married him? All the cuts and bruises that appear on Jovovich were real. No makeup was used for her injuries. The zombie actors were told that there were 2 cardinal rules while depicting the undead. No dragging feet, and no outstretched arms. The Resident Evil movie was supposed to be made by George A. Romero. He wrote the script, but Capcom didn't like it, so he was fired. But you were happy with the script for all the sequels? Resident Evil Apocalypse came out in 2004. The tagline is, My name is Alice, and I remember everything. The main villain is Nemesis. The film was meant to be called Resident Evil Nemesis, but the studio was worried that viewers would get mixed up with Star Trek Nemesis, which came out 2 years prior. There's a 2-year difference, and it's a completely different franchise. No one's gonna go, well, they both say Nemesis, so they gotta be the same movie. They did Transformers Age of Extinction and Avengers Age of Ultron, and nobody got them mixed up. Like the video game, the only word that Nemesis can say is stars. Since he is programmed to track down the STARS rescue force. Snoop Dogg was considered for the role of LJ. Evanescence musician Ben Moody cameos as a zombie. Matthew Taylor plays Nemesis. The 60-pound suit was so hot, Taylor could only wear it for 15 minutes at a time. The gun that Nemesis uses weighs 65 pounds. And if you think that's heavy, the actor had to hold it with one hand. Resident Evil Extinction came out in 2007. Ian Glenn plays the villain, Dr. Isaacs. In the end, he mutates into Tyrant, which is the final boss of the original game. There is no dialogue for the first 5 minutes. The original title was Resident Evil Afterlife. This title was repurposed for the sequel. The film wasn't screened for critics. Alice's outfit was designed by Mila Jovovich's clothing line, Jovovich Hawk. The film was shipped to cinemas under the fake name Raccoon City. Every single Resident Evil fan knows that Resident Evil takes place in Raccoon City. That's not gonna fool anybody. That's like the code word for Avengers being Iron Man. There are 96 clones of Alice in the opening scene. Resident Evil Afterlife came out in 2010. This is the first film that Paul W.S. Anderson directed since the original. He directed the next 2 films in the franchise. In many countries, the title translates into Resident Evil Resurrection. Everybody in the opening scene is carrying an umbrella except the zombie girl. Umbrella is the name of the company that created the T-virus that caused the zombie outbreak. The film was supposed to shoot in one of the biggest film studios in Toronto, but it burned down the day before filming. Wentworth Miller plays Chris Redfield. Miller is best known for playing Michael Schofield in the TV series Prison Break. In that show and this film, Miller plays a convict who says, "I know a way out of here." Ali Larter plays Claire Redfield. Although she plays Nikki in Heroes, she couldn't appear in several episodes due to starring in this film. This is the only film where Alice is not naked at any point. This is the first video game adaptation ever to be converted into 3D. Mila Jovovich accidentally smashed a $100,000 camera. She's breaking cameras, she's punching directors, she's kicking actors. I mean, she's got an anger problem. This is the first Resident Evil film to be released in IMAX. Resident Evil Retribution came out in 2012. Somehow, they managed to convince Patrick Stewart to narrate the trailer.
Technology is changing our world, making what was once impossible possible.
Well, in this day and age, he'll do anything. I mean, he's literally played poo, so... The tagline was, "Evil goes global." This was the most expensive film in the franchise, costing $65 million. At one point, a liquor crashes into a liquor store. I don't know if that pun was intentional. In most countries, the title translates into Resident Evil Vengeance. Bing Bing Lee, also known as Lee Bing Bing, also known as Tax Evasion, plays Ada Wong. Wong is dubbed by Sally Cal, who provided the voice of the character in the games Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 4.
There are some things in the world better off not knowing. This is one of them.
That kind of makes sense. Sarah Cal has a really distinctive voice, and you can't really picture any other voice coming out of that character.
I don't work for Umbrella anymore. And neither does Albert Wesker.
Resident Evil: The Final Chapter came out in 2016. The original title was Resident Evil Rising. This is the longest film in the franchise at 106 minutes. Stuntwoman Olivia Jackson was involved in a motorcycle crash during filming. She was injured so badly, she had her arm amputated. In most countries, the title translates into Resident Evil Insurgents. This is the most successful film in the series, making $312 million at the box office. And if you think I'm finished, we got 3 more movies. Now let's look at the animated Resident Evil films. Resident Evil Degeneration came out in 2008. Claire Redfield and Leon Kennedy appear in this film, who first appeared in Resident Evil 2. In this film, they're voiced as the same actors that have portrayed them in the games. The final villain, Curtis, transforms into a G-virus monster. This is the homage to the main villain in Resident Evil 2, Birkin. Although it doesn't really make any sense how he mutates almost precisely the same way. He's even got that big eye. Does the virus always do that? Help you out with a big giant eyeball on your shoulder? Because you'll need that. This is the first Resident Evil movie that was actually created by the video game creators of Resident Evil, Capcom. This is also the first Resident Evil movie that's actually set in the same world as the video games. This film takes place between Resident Evil 4 and Resident Evil 5. Roger Craig Smith plays the villain Curtis. He went on to play Chris Redfield in Resident Evil 5 and Resident Evil 6. Resident Evil Damnation came out in 2012. This is the first Resident Evil game ever that does not mention Umbrella at any point. Also, can I just say, at the end, they fight T-zombies. This is the best scene in all 9 Resident Evil films. It's exactly like the game. It's perfect. Please check it out. Resident Evil Vendetta came out in 2017. This is the first Resident Evil game that takes place in a real-world city, which is New York. This is the first Resident Evil story to have Rebecca Chambers since she last appeared in Resident Evil 0, which came out 15 years before this. She hasn't appeared in any other Resident Evil games or movies because everyone hates her. Leon S. Kennedy is the only main character from the Resident Evil games that features throughout the 3 animated films. Resident Evil has the Guinness World Record for most live-action film adaptations of a video game. And finally, the live-action Resident Evil films collectively made $1.228 billion, meaning that it's made more money than any other video game adaptation ever. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Please let me know if there's any other horror franchises you want me to talk about, and I'll upload a video as soon as possible. To learn more facts, check out my books on Amazon. They're available on paperback and Kindle. Thanks for watching. See you again.